everyone, my name is Brittany and welcome back to my channel. And today, I'm reading some historical romance.
It's Brittany, bitch.
Romance is not usually my genre, but I'm really trying to get into it this year and potentially next year. I'm really trying to get back into this genre that I used to love when I was younger. And for that, I'm going to do two historical romances that I've heard a lot about, that have really good reviews, and that are a little bit diverse and seem interesting. The first one is going to be Never Seduces Scott by Maya Banks. And this book is obviously a historical Scottish romance. And our main character is actually deaf from an accident, but her entire family does not know. They think she is deaf and that she just doesn't understand them. And then she's basically forced to marry this lairds to meld their two feuding clans together, the Montgomerys and the Armstrongs, because they have this very long, decades old feud. And then the king wants to nip that in the bud real quick. So he's going to force them to get married. And everyone thinks it's kind of a bad match because obviously they think she's daft and can't give him children. And that's unfair to him. And then her family's obviously upset that she's being married off because they thought that she was kind of protected under that status. And she's not deaf, she's just deaf. And she can actually hear the vibrations of his voice. Get out from the tree! Click out, I mean it. And their love affair ensues. And I'm actually 50% of the way into this. I listened to it on audio about a week ago. I think it's almost exactly a week ago. I haven't really been filming or editing the entire last week. It's just been a really rough time. But I'm trying to get back into it and finish this maybe tomorrow or the next day. So I'm 50% in and I'm really enjoying it so far. I think it's also, I'm enjoying the audiobook because the narrator is doing voices. So she does a Scottish accent and I really enjoy that. It's very fun to listen to. And so far I can just say I'm enjoying it. And they have had some sexy time and I really enjoyed that as well. It's a good mix of romance and smutty. I can see how some people think it's kind of boring. I feel like not a whole lot has happened, but at the same time, I'm enjoying the scenery at the moment. But we'll see what happens. And the next book I'm reading is The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics by Olivia Waite. And this book is a sapphic historical romance set in the 1800s. And one of the women is very obsessed with astronomy, and then her father dies and she kind of takes over for him. And she's been doing all his calculations and stuff for years. And then she goes to live with Lady Moth, who is her future lover, and they just kind of connect. I'm not very far into it. I've only read probably 25% of this on my Kindle, but so far I'm enjoying it. I think I really like historical romances, to be honest. I think I've always kind of enjoyed them, which is why I've really been tempted to read them, but I think I'm always afraid of them being too boring and too cliche, because I think that's just definitely part of the genre's cliches. So I've kind of held off on it for a while, but these two were really striking my fancy. So I hope they're both really good, at least 3 or 4 stars. I've had a string of really bad books lately, so I really could use some good books right now. I could really use even a great 4 or 5 star. I'll fucking take it. So I'm gonna continue on with these and then I'll give you an update when I'm a little bit farther in both of them.
Cold enough to make you shiver, but not cold enough to snow. Cold enough to know it's winter, perfect time to say our first hello.
So I wanted to give you an update, and then I actually finished both of the books I was supposed to update you on a little bit better, but it's been a really rough time for me, so I'm just going to apologize in advance. But at least I've read them, and at least I'm going to update you. Whether it was in a timely manner or not is debatable. So the first one I finished was The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. I think I'm gonna give this a good 3 stars. I really was hoping for a 5 star with this. I just love the idea of a sapphic historical romance, but it just didn't always work for me. But I think it was still a really good book. So our main characters, Lucy and Catherine, are kind of strung together after Lucy's father dies, and he's an astronomer, and she's actually been doing his calculations for him for years. And Lady Catherine sends a letter to Lucy asking if she knows anyone who would help her translate a French astronomy text, and Lucy decides that she would like to do it, and so she literally just shows up at Lady Catherine's door and their love ensues. And I think this is really sweet, and I think if you're looking for something really sweet and not a whole lot of conflict, I think you'll really enjoy it. Lucy's kind of recovering from a breakup of 5 years with a woman who got married to a man, and Catherine is kind of recovering from her husband dying a year ago, and he was very abusive towards her, their entire marriage, and he just wasn't very loving, and it was just kind of really sad to see that, but they kind of find their love in each other. I really wasn't always on board with their love. I feel like they would have been much better friends, in my opinion. I think I feel that way about a lot of books. I just don't really feel the chemistry between people. Not to mention, I also found it really just too serious for my taste. This is very Jane Austen-y, and it's a little more serious than I prefer. I prefer something a little more lighthearted, and not that it's Not that it's boring per se, but it's definitely just a little serious, and they talk to each other very formally. And I understand it could be also part of the time, but I think you can still have like a little bit of more banter, even though it's formal. I just feel like it was way too formal for their intimate relationship. I think every conversation was just so heavy between them, and there wasn't ever like a moment where we got to see them like enjoying each other's presence or how one did this, or it just was always about like parts of the plot, like their jobs and what they were trying to accomplish, than like their relationship, if that makes any sense. They were also like just so ready to like die for each other, and I really just didn't see why they wanted to like die for each other so suddenly, and they were just completely encapsulated in this romance, because I just didn't really see it. But there was some good smutty scenes in here. I would say on a steaminess level, I think it was, I'm gonna probably go 4 out of 5. I feel like it was pretty steamy. I actually really enjoyed that. I just wish I cared more about these characters in general and then being together, and then I would have like loved this book. It was just a little bit too serious, and I felt it was also kind of unrealistic on how quickly they could get things accomplished, especially as women, like getting things published and stuff. I was kind of surprised at how easy certain things were for them, but I did love the fuck the patriarchy theme of this book. So would recommend for the feminist values in this, for sure. And then I also finished Never Seduces Scott, and I'm gonna give this one 3.75 stars. I think I'm gonna round it up to 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I found kind of parts of it a little bit boring, but at the same time, I really liked the beginning and I really liked the end, and I really enjoyed the Scottish Highlander theme. I think I found that that's something I really enjoy. I also just like listening to the audiobook because the narrator does a really great job with the accent, and I just was really like there. So to sum it up, we have a deaf heroine named Eveline who lost her hearing when she fell off of a horse many years ago, and her whole family thinks she's daft, and she kind of uses that to her advantage to get out of a marriage. But then the king of the land orders a marriage between the Armstrongs and Montgomerys, and so she's forced to marry this lovely laird named Graham, who is such a sweet cinnamoroll, and I do really love how much he loves her. I really wish I felt a little bit more, again, of their chemistry. Again, though, they were really insta-lovey. There was just like a lack of conflict between them. There was definitely like some family drama, and I feel like that was kind of dropped. I really liked the family drama. I liked some of that conflict, but kind of wish I had more conflict between them. Like they had a harder time understanding each other because she reads lips, and I feel like that's also a little unrealistic. People speak kind of quickly, and it's kind of hard to understand what everyone's saying all the time. Like how she understands like all the conversations is kind of unrealistic. I like the aspect that she can still communicate, but like why wasn't she writing or something? I feel like I would have like preferred a little more of like a writing, or they wrote letters to each other. Like there could be like another aspect to this that made it like better, but I think it's great. I would recommend it. I'm gonna give it 4 stars, and I definitely would pursue other historical romance. I think this was a great test for that yeah, I do enjoy it. I just have to find the right ones for me, and I was really hoping for 2 5-stars, but you know what? At least they were not 1 stars, so I'll take that. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me, and if you have any historical romance suggestions, please leave them down below. I'm always looking for new ones, and I'm really trying to find some good 5-stars, so maybe drop your favorites down below, especially if they are Scottish Highlander ones. If you don't drop it, I'm just gonna take that as a personal insult, because I'm really looking for some, because I'm really kind of craving that aspect for sure. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Like and subscribe. Talk to you guys next time. Have a good holiday season. Bye.